we go. And Kami is a tool that allows you to take a document that was originally a PDF and turn it into something that your students can type on, draw on, add audio comments to, highlight on, and so on. So sometimes you have publisher materials that were originally PDF, and back in what now seem like the old days, you would perhaps go make photocopies of them and give them to your kids to write on, and that's not really feasible right now. And we can't expect kids to print out PDFs and take a picture of them and then send that, and that's just not reasonable either. So this will allow you to take those resources that you have, or new resources that you find that are in PDF format, and I'll show that today too, and turn them into something that students can interact with. In addition, there are a couple of accessibility features for students to help support them with the text that is on those PDF documents. Just for your information, right after this training, starting at 4 o'clock, is another one on specifically an accessibility toolbar for all students. It supports both note-taking and processing of information in documents in a number of ways, and that's called Read and Write for Chrome. So if you're looking for more accessibility features for your students who need it, that toolbar, which you also already have and your students have access to, might be something you'd be interested in as well. This one is something that typically is sent out as an assignment to students. So this slide deck, and I will put a link to it in the chat right now. You can actually save this to your Google Drive. So HTTPS, oh my goodness, apparently I can't type when everybody's watching. Camien. All right, that should be right. So we'll just hit that and send that to everybody. This slide deck is now yours. You can, it's not yours to edit, but you can save it to your drive. You'll never need that link again if you save this to your drive once you open it. And you can see that it does have a table of contents at the beginning. So if you know that you needed help, you remembered how to get started and create assignments, but you can't remember how students get Kami on their end, and so on, you can jump straight to that, right? So that you can jump to the resources that you need. So we're going to see a little bit of a preview of this and an overview of Kami, and then you'll actually experience it as a student. And then we'll go back to teacher mode and take a look at where your Kami assignments end up in Google Classroom. This really is a tool that plays best with Google Classroom. It's kind of designed that way. But where you find your assignments in Google Classroom and how you get access to the Kami toolbar right within Google Classroom in order to be able to use the tools to comment on your students' work, whether you want to do an audio comment, a video comment, text, highlighting, or whatever. All right, so we'll get started now with getting started. Now, this first part, in theory, you shouldn't have to do. However, if you happen to be someone who has a Gmail account, for example, it is possible that you are signed in when you go to Chrome and you have your web address over here on the left, and these are all my extensions. Don't be scared. I really like extensions in Chrome. All the way over to the right of those, in the far right, underneath your open tabs, is a little profile circle. If you click on it, it will tell you which account is signed into Chrome browser. And this is critically important because it turns out this is actually already force installed, meaning nobody has to install it as long as they are signed into Chrome browser with their San Juan account. Your students don't have to install it. You don't have to install it. But it is very common for older students and also for adults and for students in a household where multiple family members are sharing one device to have somebody else signed into Chrome browser. For example, instead of my San Juan address, I could be signed in with my Gmail. And in a lot of cases, people don't notice there's a problem with that. They sign into Chrome browser with a Gmail account, and then they still can go to Portal and sign into Portal. They can sign into Google Classroom. They can sign into Google Drive. But it turns out if they try to use these kinds of tools, which are the easiest way to describe it is they are a browser tool. They operate in the Chrome browser. It's a little mini application, a little mini program. And it is attached to this identity. So if this person is somebody else, there's no Kami. And that means that your students will have trouble accessing the assignments. They'll have trouble completing them. They'll have trouble turning them in. And you and your students will be going round and round and round trying to figure out why it doesn't work since you created it and you assigned it and so on. So the first troubleshooting thing, nobody in our district should have to install this. It's there for you as long as you are signed in with your San Juan account. Same for your students. Your students will almost never have to click on this extension, but they still need to be signed in with their San Juan account to receive your assignment. Okay. Now, the next piece is you might not see the bluish purplish circle with the K in it in your little extensions bar, even if you are signed in. So one of the other things to check on is they did something new, and I need to replace this screenshot now. So I'm going to escape and just show you what they did. If you look now at my Chrome browser, here's my web address bar, the URL bar. These are the current extensions I have open and running. Here's my ID, and I can see that it's San Juan at EDU. And here's Cami. They have now changed the way extensions are managed, and they've added this funny little gray puzzle piece. This gray puzzle piece actually controls and manages your extensions. And it could be that you don't have it pinned. So it's there for you. And of course I have almost all of I turned that one off. That one's not pinned. It's there for you and it's waiting for you, but you don't see it because it needs to be pinned. And all you do to pin something, I'll unpin something right now. I just unpinned my Pear Deck Power Up. It just disappeared from here. You probably didn't even notice. It happened very fast. But watch this top thing. I'm going to click that little push pin again, and a little icon is going to appear. So I'm going to push it. Okay, it appeared over here. Right? So it has to not just be your San Juan account, but for you as teachers, you need to make sure that Cami is pinned. And to do that, you click on the gray puzzle piece and make sure the pin is blue. If the pin is an outlined white pin, then you need to click on it in order to turn it on. So that is a new thing in case you've been using extensions for a while and you haven't yet happened to notice it. I started noticing it about a month ago. So make sure your extension is pinned. Again, for your kids, probably won't matter. Once you assign things in Google Classroom, as long as they're signed in here, they don't touch this extension at all. They just go in through Google Classroom and get it usually. So that's an important kind of troubleshooting piece for you to help get things off and running correctly so that it runs as smoothly as possible for you. Once you get started, the first time you create an assignment, you will start in the extension. You'll click that funny little circle and it will open up the screen that you see here on the right, where it says, how would you like to set up your PDF? Would you like to open it from Google Drive? Do you want to open it from your computer? Do you want to create a Google Classroom assignment? Or do you just need a new blank page that's going to have the toolbar? So this is only going to happen the first time that you create an assignment. After that, I'm going to give you a better process from Google Classroom. But the very first time, it's not talking yet to your Google Classes. So you need to start this way, because this is how you'll get it to pull into your Google Classrooms automatically. This will make sense to you in a minute, but this number 2 says if you need to add content to the PDF that you're going to assign to students, do that first before you click on the extension to create the assignment. And what do I mean by adding content? Because right now you're like, but it's a PDF. It's already got content. But with Cami, you can add to it. You can put an explanation in a text box on that page. You can record an audio comment to help your students. You can record a video or even a screen capture video. You can draw on it or you can highlight things. So if you need to do things to the PDF in order to help your students be successful with it, you're going to do that first in Cami. You're going to open the PDF and add the content using the Cami toolbar before you click the Create a Google Classroom Assignment button. So if you need to add a text box or add an audio comment, you're going to find your PDF first. Is it in your Google Drive? Is it on your computer? Are you starting from scratch? You could do that too, although I've never tried it. I've always been based on a PDF trying to make the Cami assignments. When the PDF is ready to share with students, because you added all the content that you want to add, click the extension and choose Create Google Classroom Assignment. Only this one time. After that, you'll do this whole process in Google Classroom. So the first time it will ask you to sync your Google Classrooms. I can't even model that anymore because I've already done it for mine. And then after that first time, you can choose a special new kind of assignment that I'll show you in a minute, called a Kami assignment that will suddenly magically appear when you hit the create button on the classwork page in Google Classroom. And again, anything you want to add to that PDF has to already have been added. So we're going to look at how you add content as a teacher today, as well as how you make the assignments. Here's the other cool thing. Now that you have the Kami extension installed and you're running it with your San Juan account so that it actually is working, you might be exploring and looking for content for your students, and you might stumble across a PDF. You will now see a new, it might say open with Kami, or it might just be the K and you have to click it to get open with Kami, but it'll be off to the margin. PDFs often show up like this with a gray box around them. It'll be off to the right, and you will be able to click on that and get the Kami toolbar right then and save it to your drive so that you have that new PDF. Once you have a PDF and you want to give it to your kids, you're going to open up that toolbar with the extension. You use that toolbar to add content to your PDF, and it will let you do a couple of things. Well, actually quite a few things. First of all, this is the same toolbar that your students have, with one small exception. Or this is rather the same, this is the same toolbar your students have. And these first two tools are accessibility tools for your students. One is a dictionary tool, so they can click on any word, click or highlight a word, click on the dictionary, and it will try to give them a definition. And the other one is text to speech, so they can click on a word or phrase and it will read to them. These are the things you can add to the PDF, and your students can add these things too. So you can mark up with a highlighter. You can add a text comment, an audio comment, or a video comment. Your students can only add a text comment or an audio comment. They cannot do a video comment. There is also a text box bar. So instead of a thing that appears in the comments area to the right, you can put a text box right on the document. I'll show you an example of that. And for math, you actually have an equations toolbar so that you can more easily type the equations part in order to add that. And your students have access to that equations editor if they need to respond with mathematical equations. There's also a freehand drawing tool. They can add shapes. There's a few color options. The erasers to help them erase things they added that they didn't mean to have. And they can also add an image from their, image that is saved to their computer or their Chromebook that they would like to add. So these are things you can add to your assignment. And on here, I've kind of reminded you of some of what those things are. The only thing I didn't mention, because it occurs in a different little button, not in this toolbar, is you might remember there was a PDF on the previous page. That PDF is like 50 pages long. You're not giving all that to your kids. This tool will let you split a PDF into smaller pieces. It will let you extract only the pages you want. If you only want pages 1, 4, and 5, and 7, you can make a new PDF with pages 1, 4, and 5, and 7, and then go from there and create everything else on it that you want on each of those pages. So that's another feature that you have in Kami. Here is a document that is open right now, and I haven't added anything. This is the original PDF. It is actually more than I need. This is actually from that PDF I showed a little bit ago. It's kind of a handbook for French teachers in France to teach geography to their kids. Well, there's a lot of stuff here that's teacher speak. Kids don't need that. So in my Kami window, once I've opened it up and I've got this PDF, you can see my toolbar. Part of it is visible here on the left. But over here on the right, I have a whole bunch of menu options. The 3 lines is your universal symbol now for click here, it's a menu. So you click there, and this is where you get the split and merge option. This split and merge option is what's going to allow me to take out, for example, this first page, which is really for teachers and not for students. It also has other features, and I will be honest, I haven't played with this very much yet for these other features. I've spent most of my time with the toolbar, but I will let you know what OCR is, which is optical character recognition. So if you have a PDF and you have a student who actually needs to be able to have that PDF read aloud to them, sometimes PDFs, the screen readers, even the ones built in with a tool like this, they don't work because it's sometimes tricky to select individual words in a PDF. It won't really let you. OCR is actually an accessibility option that makes text in inaccessible images and PDFs something that they can have read to them, because it makes it recognizable to the screen reader. So that's what the OCR stands for. It's an accessibility feature as well. The rest of these things are all just kind of your documents, your document properties, what kind of notifications you'd like to receive, another option to create your assignment in Google Classroom once you're done adding your content, and a few other things. We're going to talk about a couple of these other buttons as well, but not quite yet. So this is a different assignment, but this one, this is a PDF, and this view of the toolbar is kind of the shrunk down view that's just images, but you can click on these two arrows in order to pop it out to where it says what each image represents. And then if you don't want to see all that, you can pop them, you can, when the text is visible, you can click the arrow goes the other way and you can collapse it down to this little set of pictures. And I have my PDF here. And as the teacher, I'm going to get ready to assign it to students. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is a couple of things that have happened here. There's multiple things on this screen to draw your attention to. First of all, I started with a text box that I'm adding. I'm typing some instructions there in blue. I chose blue out of the 3 colors that were available. And then there's another color palette where I can choose more. I can also choose the size of the text. The text box has some grab handles so I can adjust how wide it is or how tall it is. And I'm going to be able to physically move it anywhere I want. If I prefer that it be over here, I can move it over here to the left of the text. At one point, especially your very first time using Kami, all of a sudden, a warning is going to appear. If you check this box, you can see it's not attached to anything. It didn't open from this menu or this menu or this menu. It just popped up and it's alerting you saying, you're working on this thing and it's not saved anywhere. It's not uploaded at all. My advice to you is don't just click save to drive or you're going to keep getting that prompt every single time. Click always upload first, so that it knows every time you're working on it, it's going to save it to drive for you. And I'll show you where it creates a location. So click always upload and then click save to drive. That way you're going to always have the version you're working on. It's always going to be saved to drive and you're not going to lose it in any way. But this warning pops up. So look for it. It doesn't pop up for me anymore, because now it just automatically uploads every time I create a new Kami, it saves it to a little Kami folder in my Google Drive. And from there, I can move it to the folder I want it to be in. You'll also see another opportunity to move it as well. So you can see I have some additional instructions. I typed some instructions here to use the drawing tools to circle their responses, because the text was actually, this particular document has them making choices between an A and a B. So I said they could use the drawing tools to actually circle A or B. They have a couple of text things where I asked them to circle things or highlight things. And then I decided to add an audio comment. The very first time you do that, you're going to need to give your computer permission to let Kami have access to your microphone. So look for, you're going to be clicking here going, it's not recording, it's not recording, it's not recording. That's because you need to click allow. Once you click it once, it will remember that you want Kami to have access to your microphone. For you as the teacher, this is your video camera icon. This means you can record a video. The first time you do that, it's going to appear over here in the comments area, but it's going to ask you permission. Did you want Kami to have access to your your webcam? And then you just say allow. This third icon is also one that only the teachers have, not the students, and it's called a screen capture recording. This tool is great, especially for the first Kami assignment you give. because what it's going to let you do is it's going to let you record your screen while you demonstrate how to use the tools to do the assignment, so that you're showing students how to click and get a text box, or how to do the markup and choose the color, or how to do the drawing or add a shape. So you're going to be able to record your voice and record everything you do on the screen, and then that will attach as a little video comment on the right to provide instructions and support to your learners. And that's what this little computer screen icon is. Your students don't have this one, and your students don't have video. They only have typed comments that appear on the right, audio comments that appear on the right, and they will also have to hit allow or it won't work. And then text boxes, they can add them anywhere. So if it's a worksheet and there's a blank line where they would normally have handwritten a response, they can create a text box and just put the text box on that blank line and type. They can draw, they can add shapes, they can erase what they've done, they can add images. The signature is cool, but we haven't really needed it for students. Now, once in a while, and this could happen to your students or to you, this is a cool little trick that I just learned about 3 months ago. Once in a while, you miss the permission thing that came up on the previous, let me click here again. You miss the permission thing that came up and you didn't give it permission. You closed your thing, you went away for the night, you decided you were gonna work on it another day, right? You were done. And you missed the little permission thing and you never gave it permission. Or you even accidentally hit block. You're like, ooh, that sounds scary. It has access, I'm gonna hit block. And then you realize, oh my God, I can't do what I need to do because it's not letting me. Why isn't it letting me? It won't do the audio comment, the video's not working. Well, to the left of your web address in Chrome, there's a little padlock. I have ignored this padlock forever. I've seen it and really not tried to figure out what it was. And the big lesson here is the one I often tell teachers, but in this case, I ignored my own lesson. Nothing on a web page is random. Almost every little thing you see, no matter how little, is actually there on purpose and has a function. 3 dots, 3 lines, a little icon, it has a function. So this padlock actually has a function. And if you click on it, if you click on it, it will actually pop down. I'll do it on this web page just so you can see. It'll actually pop down some permissions for you. And if it turns out that you blocked your microphone, you're going to be able to allow it here. If you blocked, there's no camera access in slides, so it doesn't show up here. But if you blocked your camera, you're gonna see a little video camera and you're gonna be able to allow it. Some things are allowed by default for you by the district, so you don't have to worry about them. But the microphone and the video camera are ones that if you're having trouble with a site and you should be able to audio or video record, you probably just need to click the padlock and then you'll see what kinds of tools your computer needs to give permission for, and it will let you allow them. And what you see changes depending on the page that you're on. So this doesn't have video camera. I don't have anything that needs video camera open right now, but it changes based on the page that you're on. Don't see any questions yet. One last little tricky thing. For those of you who liked the idea of the screen capture to record students, to record, not students, but to record your screen and give students some instructions that they could watch to show them how to use Cami for the first time. When you first click on it, it's going to pop up a little thing, I think. Now, this was true in the spring when it wasn't force installed and we were being given temporary free access to Cami by Cami. And so it was kind of optional. People who wanted it installed it, others did not. It was not force installed. I have asked technology services to force install Cami, but to also force install the screen capture extension for you. So you may not see this pop up anymore. But if you do see it, you need to click it or you won't be able to make the little screen capture recording so that your students can get a video showing how to use the tool. Let's close that. My thing is having some kind of issue. So I gave you a little bit more information about the screen share comment. I did find when I did it myself the first time, if you do need to install it, if you get this warning that you need it, I actually had to close the Cami assignment and reopen it afterwards in order for it to work. I kept trying to, I installed the extension, went right back to my assignment, was like, let's do the video now. That didn't work. I had to close the assignment out completely and reopen it after I had installed the extension. Again, I don't think that will happen for you because I asked tech services to please install it for you automatically. But once you click on it to do it, it's going to choose, you're going to recognize this now from Zoom because you're all experts in this now. It's going to look a lot like the Zoom one. Find the thing you want to share and click share. And then when you're done, you've added your text, and then you record your video. So I didn't give a screenshot of recording a video, but you record your video and you save it and you're done. So now you're finished. You've added text. Maybe you highlighted some things. Maybe you put an audio comment. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you put a video. Now you're done. You definitely need to click the download icon to export, but you don't have to export it to your computer because it kind of sounds like you're getting it out of Google and down to your computer. You could do that. You're allowed to save it to your computer, but for Google Classroom purposes, I'd actually recommend you go ahead and put it in your Google Drive. The PDF with all annotations. And you can even tell it out of 2 pages, you only annotated 1. Did you really want to give them both? Or did you only mean to give them the annotated page that you had put stuff on? And the answer to that depends on you. You might have put some instructions on the front page, but you want them to do pages 1 and 2. You can choose a different folder. It will give you a chance to rename it if you need to. And then you're going to hit begin export. And then after that, you're going to assign your work. So this is where I'd said one time only, you're going to need to choose your San Juan account and you'll have to connect it to Google Classroom. Once you've done that, you won't need to do that step ever again. But that's where you have to open the extension and say, I want to create a Google Classroom assignment now, please. And it will ask you to choose your Google account and it will guide you through that process. Once you've done that one time, you won't need to do that again. You'll go to Google Classroom, you'll hit your create button, you'll choose Kami assignment, and it will open up the PDF that you select and let you send that out to your kids. So this looks a lot like your normal Google Classroom editing screen for your assignments. For your older kids, especially who can read all these instructions, you might want to put some instructions in there with, you know, remember to, they shouldn't need to get the extension, but you might want to remind them that they need to be signed into Chrome browser, especially your older kids. They are probably not using Chrome browser with their San Juan account because it blocks the games they like to play and it blocks some of the websites they like to visit. So the older kids often are signed into Chrome browser with a Gmail, and then they'll keep complaining that they can't get the assignment. So you might want to include in your instructions to make sure they are running Chrome browser with their San Juan account or the assignment won't work. And then you can actually provide, even here, I have some instructions that remind them how to open it and how to get the toolbar so that they can do what they need to do. Okay, definitely choose make a copy for each student. And then it'll let you see it as a teacher in Google Classroom so you can see the instructions and see how it's looking. And it'll also let you edit further in case there were some aspects of the editing window that Kami didn't give you. You can click those 3 dots and you can edit some more. Okay, so notice I clicked the 3 dots. For example, Kami won't let you, when you create it from Kami, if there's another file you want to attach, Kami doesn't give you the attach option. It already attached your Kami assignment. Why would you need to attach anything else? So you can edit it further. And if you want to add a support document of some kind, you can grab that and add that to your assignment. So I have like a student help document for Kami, for example. As I mentioned, it adds folders to your drive automatically, but you can grab your assignments out of those folders and put them in the folder you want. So if you use an organized folder structure, like I was a French teacher and I had a folder for French 1 and French 2 and French 3 and French 4 AP, and within that I had a folder for each chapter, and within that there was a folder for each lesson. If you do stuff like that, you can actually grab assignments that you forgot to redirect when you created it, and you can move them to the folder you want them to be in. All right, so now we're going to try it so you can see what it's like, we hope. The first thing I'd like you to do, and this is a little tricky, I'm sharing my screen right now, so you might want to hit the escape key on your keyboard just to make my screen a little bit smaller so it's not taking over your whole screen. And then I'd like you to open up Chrome, or if you already have it open, go to your Chrome window And at this point, you'll be listening to me, but you won't be able to see me. So that's a little scary. So go to your Chrome window, or Chrome browser, sorry. And from there, go ahead and open up Google Classroom, because I'm going to have you in a minute, not quite yet, I'm going to have you join a Google Classroom so that you receive an assignment the way a student does. Before you do that though, and if you need to come back into Zoom to see my screen, feel free to come back and forth between your Chrome window and my Zoom window. When you open Chrome, please, please, please go to the upper right corner by your little puzzle piece icon and click on the little profile circle and make sure it says you are signed in with your San Juan account, because if you are not, it won't talk to you and it won't give you my assignment. Are there any, I'll wait for a minute, and you can either use your microphone or the chat if you're having trouble getting your Chrome account, your Chrome browser signed into your San Juan account. Okay, I'm hopeful this means that you're all good. All right, so you're signed into your Chrome browser with your San Juan account. What I'd like you to do is open your Google Classroom, and don't go to one of your classes because you're actually going to join one of mine. So just open Google Classroom, and sorry, in the upper right corner, you should have all your classes kind of showing in little tiles in Google Classroom. And in the upper right corner, you should have a plus button. So click the plus, and then from the two options, choose join class. And at that point, it will ask you for a code. I will put the code in the chat, but I will also say it out loud for you in case it's difficult to go back and forth between the chat, between Zoom and your Google Classroom. The code is B6ZV, like Victor, H2V, also like Victor. So B6ZVH2V. Now, I suppose there's a chance you're already in this class if you happen to have attended the CAMI training last spring or a couple other trainings. It's the Google Classroom practice class. Okay, it's got quite a few students. So again, that code is B6ZVH2V.
Nicole, I can see both screens because I have an extra monitor, but I am somewhere where I don't need, I mean, I tried to follow you and then you went too fast for me, and I don't know where I'm going to put that code in. Where do I go?
Oh, that's okay. Do you see my screen right now?
I do.
Cool. In the upper right, so you have your Google Classroom open like this where it has whatever class that you teach and so on. Yeah, and then in the upper right corner, there's a plus.
Back, so I need to get to, okay, I have my Google Classroom. I can see my Google Classroom, yeah.
Do you see the plus in the upper right corner?
Do you want me to open my classroom? Okay, I'm going to open my classroom.
No, don't open your classroom. You should be on a screen that looks like this, that has a tile with the name of your classroom, but don't open it.
Oh, I see plus. Okay, that one right
there.
There
you go. Click the plus and then choose join class.
Okay.
Then it'll ask for a code.
Right, I see that now. Let me put it in.
B6ZVH2V.
Right, I did that. Now join.
Yep. I have 83, and in a second, it's probably going to say I have 84. It's going to just take a second.
Yeah, it's taken a while to bring it in, but
that's okay. It's coming.
No, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. So I'm hoping it's bringing you in. Let's see. So I'm going to open mine back up again. And if you open up that class once you have it, please go to classwork. Okay, Sandy, I'll have to work with you after. Please go to classwork and scroll down to chapter 1, and you should see sample CAMI as an assignment. So I want you to click on that. And then as a student, you still have to click, after you clicked on it, something in the lower left corner says view assignment. Click view assignment. And what it does for you and what it does for me are different. but what it will do for you as a student is it will bring you to a view where you can see the assignments and you can see that there's a PDF attached. There's a PDF called Cami Carpenter Sample. When you're ready, you should have clicked View Assignment. You should see the instructions, and underneath the instructions, there are 2 PDFs. The only one I need you to click on is the one called Cami Carpenter Sample. So click on that.
I don't have that.
Okay.
I see Cami in Google Classrooms, but I don't see yours.
Okay. Let's back up. Please go to classwork. Scroll down to sample to chapter 1.
I'm on sample Cami, but
Okay. Did you click the words view assignment at the bottom left?
Yeah, I did. Let me go back and make sure that I do it right again. Okay, hold on. View assignment.
No problem.
Yeah, I did. And again, I'm only seeing Cami in Google Classroom something.
Is that true for everybody?
That's what I have too.
Oh, that's
mine says your work, and then it says Elizabeth Lundeen PDF on the upper left. No, right. And I clicked on that. It got me to the.
Oh, and that's because because I'm in the teacher one. Does anybody else see the your work in the right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Click that.
So this is what we go through daily.
I know, because we don't have student accounts.
It's crazy. I don't know why we.
It's a Google. It's not us. It's Google.
Yeah,
Google
I know that. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I just it's like everything we do.
I do have, and I forgot about this. I actually have the student view later in the slide deck where it shows like the view assignment. I think I have that in there. So click view assignment.
This is helpful going in. Yeah.
Let me open that. Now here's the catch. You'll notice it's a PDF here, and you can see some weird little boxes that there's comments, and you don't see your toolbar. Do you see a K or an open with Cami?
Yes.
Okay, now here's the catch. Your students will see this in different ways.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a couple of them. Some of you will see it right away. Mm-hmm. Some of you will have to click open with and choose annotate with Cami, or some of your students.
Yeah.
So in the top center, there's a thing that says open with, annotate with Cami. And there's some of you have a button that just says open with Cami. Either one will work. So open with Cami, and that should bring you to your own personal copy of this assignment. And hold on, it's doing its thingy because I'm zooming and doing this at the same time. Mm-hmm. What time is it? Yeah, so okay. It'll bring you to your own personal copy of this assignment. So everything you do will just get turned into me. The other students in the class can't see it.
Chris, please authorize Cami with Google. Go ahead.
Yep. That's.
Oh, geez. Now it opened another window for Google Drive. It opened this.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. What do I do there? Google.
I don't see it. I'm sorry. You'll have to tell me what it says.
Authorize Cami with Google to allow turning in. You're please.
Yes.
But
hold on. Let me take some notes because that's new.
Okay, I'm clicking on that. Okay, I did it by clicking on where it said Jennifer Morgenstern with my thing. Now it's open.
Okay, hold on. I'm just taking some notes. Authorize Cami, something about churn in. Google Drive.
It showed me Jennifer, with my thing. And so I just clicked where my J was from up at the corner. And when I did, it opened it to what you have now.
Perfect. Okay, shows your account. Click on it. Click on it. And it might have wanted to check, is this the account you want to use? And yes, it is, because if it's not the San Juan account, it won't work, right. And so on. All right, so now you have this, and what you can see, the blue text is something I added. I added the blue text. I highlighted the words answer the questions. That wasn't part of the PDF. And off to the right, I've added 2 audio comments and a screen capture video. Those are all things I did before you ever got it. But now you have the toolbar also. And because you have the toolbar, you can now scroll through the document and you can answer the questions, or you can do the highlighting exercise at the top where I said highlight words that are new but that you do not understand. Circle the words that are new that you do understand. You're like, it's a new word. We haven't talked about this in school, but I think I know what it means. So I'm trying to teach kids to annotate for different purposes. So drawing attention to what they understand, even if it seems new to them, and also going ahead and letting them mark the words that they aren't sure they understand at all. And they're using two different annotation tools, the shapes tool or the drawing. They can circle either way. So with either the shape or drawing, and then the highlighting tool with the markup. On the bottom, they can actually answer questions by circling A or B or C or D. There we go. A, B, C, or D for their answers. And at the very bottom, they can use the T or the text tool to type their responses for the question number 4, because if I take my T, and I'm in Zoom, and I know you can't see me right now unless you come back to Zoom, but if I take my T and click on it and choose black ink or red ink or whatever color ink I want, I can put my cursor at the beginning of that first line and I can start typing. And then I can put my cursor at the second line and I can start typing there, and I can click at the beginning of the third line and I can type again. So if you'd like, you can actually take a minute or two and just mark up the document. If you teach math and I know this isn't a math text, but you want to play with the equation editor, the math typing editor, you can do that too, just to see how that works for your students. I think we have a few people joining early for the next session. So we are still finishing up Cami. The next session starts at 4 p.m. So you might want to come out and come back, or you can hang out for the end of this one if you'd like. All right. I have a question for those of you who got this assignment. This part varies by student as well. Some students have a turn in button in the upper right corner somewhere. Do any of you have a turn in button?
I see turn in.
That's turn in, that's the one. So some students will see that, and that's how they're going to turn in their assignment to you. They're going to click that turn in. And sorry, I'm hovering over my tools right now, trying to get it to tell me that's download, that's save, that's print, that's share. So we do know from the spring when we had temporary free access to Cami and some teachers were starting to use it, that for some reason that we were never able to identify, some students never got the turn in button. They got the assignment, they could type on it, they could edit on it, but they didn't get the turn in button. Those students are going to save their assignment to their Google Drive and then go back to it in Google Classroom. And some of you may know that in Google Classroom, as a student, when a teacher creates an assignment, you can obviously push papers out to them, but the student can also create or add something from their drive at any time. So if the students don't see a turn in button, they're going to save to Drive and go back to Google Classroom. And when they click on it as a student, I'll show you the slides in a second. When they go back to the assignment as a student, one of the options they have is to add, and then it will be from Google Drive, just like when you create assignments in Google Classroom and you add from Google Drive, and they'll go find their Cami assignment and they'll just push it back to you that way. We never could figure out why some students had the turn in button and some didn't. That never became clear to us. You can also see that you have a toolbar a little bit like Google Docs or Microsoft that lets you change the font size, the spacing, lets you bold and underline, change the color. So you have a fairly robust typing bar. You can even do lists and numbering and all kinds of stuff up here.
How do you get that? I don't have that.
Oh, well, click your text box. On the left, click the T for text box.
Yes.
Now the toolbar should appear at the top.
No.
Nicole, I have a question about the text box, because I've used this with my kids, and they're third graders, but the text box, it was well, it looks like, let me just try here if it's, yeah, I guess it's just not lined up on the line. I mean, is that okay? A lot of times when
it'll only let you I mean, there is a way to grab, so you'd have to come to my screen in Zoom. There, you can grab your box and move it.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm able to get it right on the line.
Yeah. Okay. They have to move it up. So they're going to have to manipulate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually will get better with it pretty quickly, but
Yeah.
you might want to have your first task be fairly simple with things not too tight together.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
Jennifer, I noticed that I got my toolbar. Not only did I have to click text, but then I had to click somewhere on the PDF as if I was going to start typing.
I tried that and I found it.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to let you know. All right.
So
So
Nicole, I have another question real quick. The turn in button. So this is where my kids are struggling too. Is mine shows up on the very top toolbar and
In the-
it's not very big. It says
No.
turn in. It's not like the turn in on Google Classroom.
no, it's not. But that's it.
That's it. Oh
That's
boy,
it.
I didn't know. No wonder they're struggling. Okay.
And some of them might not be seeing it. I don't know
Okay.
why. And that, do you see the little, and your kids don't know what this is, but do you see the little floppy disk icon?
Mhm.
Yeah.
If
Mhm.
they don't see the turn in button, then
Yeah.
they need to click that to save it
Mhm.
to their drive, and then they attach it from their Google Drive, unfortunately.
Okay.
I wish I could figure out why some of them didn't get the turn in button, because I would have liked that better.
But with the turn in button, it still highlights, when I put my cursor on it, it highlights the save as well.
That makes sense because it's automatically saving a copy to your drive anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's go back. You can try turning it into me if you'd like, by the way. You can hit that turn in button if you'd like. But let's go back to the slides. So that means you need to find my Zoom and come back to Zoom. I know you're all getting a lot more comfortable with toggling back and forth between Zoom and other things.
Well, I clicked out of the meeting, so I when my kids do it. Yeah.
Are you able to find me again, or are you gone?
I was. It took a little while. I did.
In the lower, are you using a Mac or a PC?
A Mac.
In the lower, put your cursor down to the bottom so that all your like your apps come up. In the lower right, do you see the Zoom icon?
Yeah, usually I click right on that and it pops back in, but for some reason I had to go back into the meeting. I don't know. Weird.
Oh, well, welcome back.
Okay.
All right. So you've done those things. Notice that in your slides that I gave you access to, I reminded you that if there's no turn in button, that they need to click the save icon and just grab it from their Google Drive when they're in Google Classroom. So this is old. This is from spring. Your students might not have to install it as long as they're signed into Chrome browser. It might still have been force installed, but I don't think we can force install on devices we don't own. So your students who are using personal devices need to be signed into their student account, and they need to install the extension. So I have a link here that takes them right to it. So you might notice in my assignment, oh, come on, little computer. You might notice in my assignment, here it is. I actually put the link for the extension in my assignment for them in case they didn't have it. And that would be for kids who are not using the Chromebooks owned by the district. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
When they install it, they cannot install it with a Gmail. It can't be a parent's Gmail who's in Chrome right here. It's got to be their San Juan student account. Okay. And then after that, it actually should be smooth, because when you create a Google Classroom assignment, it already knows who your students are. So it will automatically recognize your students and it will give them the toolbar automatically in Google, in Kami, to let them do the assignment with the Kami toolbar. It should be seamless as long as they're signed into Chrome with their San Juan account. And if they are on a personal device, they also had to install the extension for Kami. So that's why I gave you the link to that. For you as a teacher, once your students turn it into you, you want to go grab it. Now, I think probably all of you have used Google Classroom at least a little bit at this point. You go to your classwork and you open up the assignment and you can see those little previews of your students' work. However, it's really, really, really important when you first open an assignment, and I think mine's going to do it automatically because it remembers, which is the bummer. So you're not going to see the thing you have to do. when you first open it, you're going to see it as a PDF, a little bit like when you first opened the assignment for me as a student, and it had the open with, annotate with Cami, and the little blue Cami button. When you first open one of your students' work, it won't have the Cami toolbar. And you're gonna be like, wait a minute, I wanna grade this. Like, I'd like to use the toolbar. I'd like to draw on it or highlight on it or add a comment, an audio comment. In Google Classroom, when you are grading work, there is a, hold on, I'm gonna let her, there's people starting to come in for the next session. In Google, hi Sarah, this is actually the end of the previous, but we'll start the next one in a little bit. When you're in Google Classroom and you're grading things, so let me get out of this. Let's go to student work, perfect. You'll see the preview for, you'll see your student's little preview assignment. So just click on anybody's to open it up. Mine is probably not going to do what yours is going to do because I probably have it checked already. Oh, I don't. Let's see. All right, that's good. So when you first open it, it looks like this and you're kind of struggling. You have the comments area over here, but you probably wanted the Cami toolbar. Because see, now everything looks kind of funny, and all you have to do is in the Google Classroom grading area where you've always been able to add points and add comments, you need to check the box that says grade with Cami. Do it one time and it will remember it for all the assignments, or at least it should remember it for all of the kids who turned in that assignment. So it's reopening your file now. It's reopening this student's file. This is actually one of our teachers. And I'm waiting for it to reopen, sorry. And this time, I still have my grading area from Google Classroom over here. If I attached a rubric, I can still use the rubric. I can put points. I can use the comment feature here. I have the return button up at the top right. All of that's there, but now I also have my Cami toolbar so that if I want to, I can use the Cami toolbar at any point to mark up the text or add comments that live within the document that when the students open it, they can see. So that piece, it's this piece that's really important if you want the Cami toolbar so that you don't just have the little Google Classroom kind of grade box over here, then you need to tell Google Classroom, please grade this with Cami so that I also have my Cami toolbar. And I can use the features of Cami to give students feedback on their work. Okay. And then that just shows you to use the Cami tools are on the left, Google Classroom grading tools are on the right. As far as like if you actually are assigning points and you want Google Classroom to record those points, for example. Then the student work will move to the graded area of your list in Google Classroom for that assignment, because for all of your assignments, if I can get it back here, you have turned in. Those are the ones you haven't graded yet. Sorry, let me see if it's taking a little while. And then I don't know if I graded anybody's because it was just all students. So, oh, I did. And then anybody whose work you've graded bumps out of that list and moves down to a list at the bottom called graded. And if someone didn't turn it in at all, it's in a section called missing. That's true of any assignment in Google Classroom. And then at the end of your slide deck, you have a recording of the webinar from April, although I might be replacing it with this recording. You actually have a student intro video that Cami made. You have access to the Cami Help Center, a shorter video tutorial directly from Cami, specific support for the Google Classroom integration, specific support for both the text and equation math writing tool. If there's a problem, I gave you the link to Cami's own status page, because sometimes they have an outage, just like any other tech tool. And if you're going, it worked last week, it's not working now, check their status page. Just make sure it's not a known problem, and then you can start reaching out to me, or as a last resort, contact Cami directly and find out what's going on, because we do have a paid license, so you can actually contact them as well. And that brings us to the end of our session. We have about 3 minutes for the world's fastest questions, if you have any.
Yes, I don't pay for it.
I didn't have to reinstall it. I just kind of left it there from last spring and it kept working. And you're signed into Chrome browser with your San Juan account, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But I should be in my drive, right?
Yes, and if you played with it in Google Classroom last year, you probably don't need, you won't have to start your assignments from
Okay.
Cami, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. If you will need this if you need to add content to a PDF before you give it to kids. If you just want to push the PDF out to the kids so they get the Cami toolbar, you should be able to start in Google Classroom and you should see the Create Cami assignment.
Okay.
If you don't see that, and if you can't find your extension, email me and we'll see if we can work through that and make sure that we get that back up and running for you.
Okay. I have a red arrow of customize and control Google Chrome. Updated. I don't know. Maybe enough.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Okay. You might need to update. Your Google Chrome could be old. So if it is saying you need an update, you might want to do that.
Okay. I'll do that. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. I'm going to stop this recording. We'll start a new one for the next session.